What's up, guys? Happy Friday, August 7th, 2020. I'm Gun, twitter.com/Gundacker Sports. Glad you could drop by. Welcome to the new daily video series, hopefully daily video series, called The Core 5, in which I try to identify 5 plays that I like after my first look on FanDuel and DraftKings. So if you're here and you're curious about the DraftKings picks as well, be sure to check this channel for the DraftKings video as well. If you are new to the channel, help me out, man. Hit that thumbs up. Subscribe if you like what you're hearing. A little background on me if you are new. I started this channel many moons ago, and then began gravitating towards delivering content elsewhere. A lot of Twitch involved. But this year I did try to come back, pump out some more daily content. We were doing a lot of daily live streams, a lot of successful stuff. And over time, the market gets a little bit more saturated, a lot more competitive, and there was a 4-month break for coronavirus. So my channel, after idleness, has kind of been in the background on the YouTube algorithm. So I'm scratching and clawing, fighting my way back. So usually I do a lot of early morning or afternoon live streams. But the numbers have been down a little bit, so I did some research, and it looks like face cam videos, giving the video a little bit more soak time and making it smaller. So that's what I'm doing here. So some of you guys that are used to my 2-hour stat breakdown videos, this one's going to try and be a little bit more condensed, a little bit faster, a little bit more personable. So if you appreciate that, help me out, man. If you follow me on Twitter and I tweet this out, retweet it, show me some love, help expand and grow the channel a little bit more. And then, of course, if you do like what you hear throughout the duration of this video, we have a premium subscription option at rundfs.com. I don't need to break that down because there's a graphic right here on the screen with all the information for that. But if you had any other questions about that, twitter.com/Gundacker Sports. My DMs are open. I'd be glad to field any questions about that. So what I'm going to do in this video is I'm going to give you 5 names on FanDuel of players that I'm liking for today's main slate, based off of matchup and pricing and just opportunity. If you haven't looked at the FanDuel lobby yet, and those of you that are big tournament players, there's a $25K to first, $55 entry slam, and there's a $100K to first for you lottery ticket players, $333 entry shot. So maybe some of these picks and plays will end up in the top lineup. But let's get it open. Let's go to FanDuel.com. Let's open up the player pool. And my plan here is to give you 1 point guard, 1 shooting guard, 1 small forward, 1 power forward, and 1 center that I'm liking from where I sit now. Now, it is very early compared to when the slate locks. And we know NBA is a game of news. Yesterday, I did a whole live stream, literally minutes after I go off the air. LeBron James officially ruled out. So the whole slate is different pre-flop, right? So all of these picks are subject to change. But at first glance, I like these guys and their prices. So let's start at the point guard position. And let's talk about Ja Morant, $7,700 on FanDuel. A couple reasons I like Ja Morant. We'll talk about the first big reason. The Grizzlies are fighting for that 8th spot in the Western Conference. So there's a lot of other teams that are starting to get locked in or are pretty much comfortable knowing that they're not going anywhere. The Grizzlies have the Blazers breathing down their neck, and the Suns are kind of low-key getting hot. And the Grizzlies just lost Jaren Jackson Jr. They're really cold, losing some games. So they're fighting for their lives, and what that means is they're going to be giving minutes to their players if they want to make it to the postseason, and we're seeing that already in this bubble. Ja Morant's 37 minutes, 39, 36, 40, 35 minutes, 40 minutes from the last 4 games. And like I said, Jaren Jackson Jr. going down for the season just creates more usage opportunity and more responsibility for Ja Morant. Now, don't get me wrong, OKC is not a matchup I want to go out of my way to target, but I do think if Ja Morant could sustain his point per minute production, in which he's already done this season against the OKC, that he'll go out there, he'll battle, and he'll fight. Last couple games, he's taken double-digit shots. In some of these games, like New Orleans, he took 21 shots, only hit 5 of them. A lot of shots he's taken from downtown, but he's getting a couple reboards, getting assists, and he does a little bit of defense. He's got 2 steals in his last game against Utah. He had a steal against Portland, and we know those are much, much more valuable on FanDuel than they are on DraftKings. So I think at 7,700, there is a range of outcomes where I could see mid-40s to even 50s from a determined win now, win every game Ja Morant and Memphis Grizzlies team. So early on, I'm going to put Ja Morant in as a point guard that I like. Obviously, there's a couple other spots on this slate that do stand out. De'Aaron Fox has been on a tear since coming back. He's 8K, so it's a couple $100 more. I don't mind switching to that. Fox will be on a back-to-back. There's a couple guys a little bit lower. But right now, Ja Morant, I think, is going to be my rough draft core pick. Moving on to the shooting guard spot, Bogdanovich. Bogdanovich, a little bit of a troll to me this week. I rostered him heavily against the Dallas Mavericks, and that did not go great. He was having a literal historic bad night shooting. He ultimately shot 1 for 15, but for the longest, he was 0 for 14. Matter of fact, I think that last shot he made was in overtime. Well, shooters going to shoot, and shooters shoot their way out of it. Yesterday against the Pelicans, he came back out firing. He took 20 shots. He made 13 of them, and he had, I think he was perfect in all but one field goal attempt in the first quarter, and he ended up with 49.5 DraftKings points, 47.3 FanDuel points. Now, he's going to be very, very scoring dependent. But this is a matchup against the Brooklyn Nets where I think he can get off. And at 4,900, I think 25 to 30 fantasy points is a reasonable range of outcome. If you look past that Dallas game, a tough matchup against Orlando, and in an average matchup against San Antonio, he was able to do just that. So at 4,900, I feel like I can pinch a couple pennies and use them at an elevated ownership versus the field, knowing that more often than not, he's going to get me that floor of 25-30. I do think there's going to be a couple of openings elsewhere. I think the case for Dylan Brooks can be made. He's another guy that got hot early in that Utah game. Without Jaren Jackson, he could be a candidate to pick things up. Orlando is going to be without Aaron Gordon, so maybe more minutes, an opportunity to open up for Terrence Ross if they need some scoring. Ben Simmons is going to be out for the 76ers. You can make a case for Jay Rich. So there's certainly some alternatives, but right now from where I'm sitting, I'm going to lean Bogdanovich because when all else fails, I tend to pick on the Brooklyn Nets. And let's move on to the small forward position, and I'm going to talk about Brandon Ingram. Pelicans are going to be on night 2 or day 2 of a back-to-back, and this is completely me speculating. Could blow up in my face tomorrow. But so far in this bubble, Alvin Gentry and the Pelicans have been very, very cautious with their minute plan for Zion Williamson. And I would not be surprised if Zion did not play today. It's day 2 of a back-to-back. Could they rest Zion as part of their load management? That's their number 1 pick, guy that they're trying to protect going forward, right? If that happens, is 7,500 for Brandon Ingram against the Washington Wizards a little too cheap? I think it is. Even if it doesn't happen, I think it's too cheap. Sacramento Kings, slowest pace, one of the slowest paced teams in the league on paper. And the Los Angeles Clippers, a tough defensive matchup. Those are the 2 first matchups we saw in the bubble. He was a point per minute against Utah, and then against Memphis, a similar pace. Lackluster defense, he dropped 41.9 DKP. If we extract some Zion potentially, I definitely could see a big game out of Brandon Ingram. If you go look at that team DVP chart in the RunDFS.com VIP spreadsheet on this slate, actually, let's open all teams onto the slate and sort it from most fantasy points allowed to fewest. Washington's going to be right on up there, and they might be one of the league leaders on this slate outside of the Pelicans themselves in terms of fantasy points allowed to the position. If you go to that team stats tab in that RunDFS.com VIP spreadsheet and sort it by fastest pace to slowest pace on the season, Wizards have run the second fastest pace. Pelicans have run a top 6, top 7 pace themselves. And then, of course, defensive efficiency. The Washington Wizards have been the worst defense in basketball. So plenty of things going Brandon Ingram's way at 7,500 to see a 40-plus point game or fantasy point game. So I'm going to lean on him for now, and I have a suspicion that Zion might either be out because it's a back-to-back or just be extra limited. So makes me a little bit more intrigued to play Brandon Ingram. Let's keep it moving to the power forward position. And we're going to talk about Rashaan Holmes. 5.5K. I feel like the opportunity cost still way too low for Rashaan Holmes against the Brooklyn Nets. I know I've probably been saying that this whole time, but I'm going to say it again. Against the Pelicans, 32 minutes, 8.52, a bunch of meh. Dallas, 25 minutes there. I think we had a little bit of foul trouble. Yeah, he fouled out against Dallas in 6 minutes. On the 31st, he fouled out against San Antonio in 24 minutes. Did I say 6 minutes against Dallas? I meant he fouled out in 25 minutes. 6 personal fouls. Duh. And against Orlando, it was a blowout. Only 24 minutes there. So a lot of people might look at his game log and be like, "Oh, he's not a deep minute guy. A couple of these games are just 25 or less minutes." Well, like I said, San Antonio, he fouled out in 24 minutes. Orlando was a blowout, wrong side of a blowout. And Dallas, he fouled out in 25 minutes. And against New Orleans, he only took 6 shots. It just didn't happen. The peripherals weren't there. But I'm willing to capitalize and kind of bank on him getting there, the price staying low enough for me to build off of what I know Rashaan Holmes historically can do and what I know the Nets matchup can do. If we go to that rundfs.com DVP tab and sort from most fantasy points allowed to least from the center position, the Brooklyn Nets are the top three in fantasy points allowed to opposing centers, and they're the most allowed to opposing centers that of any team in the bubble. So the matchup is super pristine. You guys have seen it. You can just look at the last couple games of centers against the Nets. It's a big time spot for him. I think the rebounds will come, and I think a couple other peripherals might fall, blocks and a couple steals, stuff like that. So 5,500. I need 30, right, to be really, really happy, but I'm really trusting Rashaan Holmes here to continue the trend of centers just dominating against the Brooklyn Nets, and I love that he's power forward eligible. Lastly, in that center spot, guy that I'm liking early on, let's talk about Thomas Bryant, 7.7K, going against the aforementioned New Orleans Pelicans. We can run it back with Brandon Ingram. Look at his minutes. Look at his production since coming back to the bubble. Against Phoenix, 28.9 DKP. That's a yikes. Maybe you want a little bit more. He just didn't get it done. Shot 4 for 12 that day. What are you going to do? Against Brooklyn, that matchup, which we like Rashaan Holmes for, 37 minutes in that game, 59 DKP. And that was a great go back to spot. 29 minutes against the Pacers, dropped 43 DKP, and on FanDuel that equated to 43.7. And then against Philadelphia, Joel Embiid defense, right? 17 shot attempts in that game, 10 rebounds. The rebounds have been there, and the blocks have been there. 4 blocks, 3 blocks, 2 blocks his last 3 games. This is a guy that I trust or believe to play deeper minutes, and I love this matchup. I love this pace. I love the opportunities for a potential 15 rebound game, and it's 7.7K on FanDuel. If he's going to keep getting these type of block numbers and keep getting 33 to 35, 36 minutes, I think Thomas Bryant has another 50 fantasy point potential in him, but I only need mid-40s to feel like the price was right and the pick was right, and that's what he's done in the last 3 games. So with this early core 5, Ja Morant, Bogdan Bogdanović, Brandon Ingram, Rashaan Holmes, Thomas Bryant, I'm left with an average of 6,675 per. I feel like that's a lot of leeway to even go find a couple scrubs, get in a couple more studs. I do think at the center position there's going to be some cases to be made for Joel Embiid without Ben Simmons against Nikola Vucevic. I really do like Nikola Vucevic against Joel Embiid for just 200 or 100 more than Thomas Bryant. I don't mind that pivot at all. Matter of fact, I'll show you this. Nikola Vucevic, FTP by game log versus Joel Embiid, last 10 games. And we'll just look at the last 4 or 5 to really care, right? 40, 47, 50, 64. So really good track record in the last 5 games. And those are all games you take at this price point today. No Aaron Gordon. And the Sixers defense has already been struggling in the bubble. Ben Simmons, one of their best defenders. You take him out the mix, it's a great spot for Vucevic as well. So certainly don't mind that. There's a couple pivots and plays I like to switch to. Like I said, John Morant to De'Aaron Fox makes a lot of sense. And Thomas Bryant to Vucevic makes a lot of sense. But for now, I'm going to go with this. So much subject to change as we get closer to lock, as news comes out. I will have all of my picks updated throughout the day in the RunDFS.com NBA VIP spreadsheet. You guys can get access to that with the premium subscription. There may be a live stream tomorrow afternoon. If so, you'll get a push notification if you are subscribed with the bell on. And then, of course, I'll tweet it out. And if that happens, I'll talk more through it as I kind of have my ear to the ground on ownership and stuff like that. But otherwise, that's my Core 5 start for the day. I appreciate you guys stopping by. If you like what you heard, hit that thumbs up for me one time before you hit the road. I love each and every one of you. I'll see you guys on Twitter or in the Discord. Good luck. God bless. Go win some money.